Hi everybody, Buzzsaw Gaming here. Just thought I would share my Nintendo 64 collection with Zelda Ocarina of Time playing on the CRT. Now I remember just playing this intro and just leaving it like this for hours and hours and hours. I love the music. Um, I love the Zelda series in general. So it was just wonderful to see this first 3D Zelda. It's the only game I've ever pre-ordered in my life. So I remember going down to the mall where I live, where I was going to school, and I pre-ordered it. And yeah, when it came, I just kept playing and playing and playing. That's all I was playing for a very long time. Outside of the original Nintendo and Super Nintendo, the N64 is my third favorite system. I have a small collection, as you can tell. I only have 25 games, so this is my top 25 Nintendo 64 games. Just like all my other collections I've shared before, I have small curated collection. So not a lot of filler, just the important stuff that I like, that I really enjoyed, that I played a lot when I was growing up, and games that I continue to play right now. Anyways, there's the N64. We all know what that looks like. I just had the original one. I remember at the time all the different colors that were for sale. I remember the Pikachu one being for sale. I remember seeing the box in the store all the time, and I just didn't want it. I just didn't like the way it looked. So I just stuck with the original kind of dark charcoal gray color. And next to it, you have the original controller. Now this controller, it's infamous, obviously, because it looks like you should have 3 hands to play with it, but you get used to it, and I've gotten used to it. I can't imagine playing Nintendo 64 without this controller. It's the first controller I used that had like a rumble pack that you'd plug into it that would add more reality to the game, and had a little joystick down there. So it was revolutionary at the time, and I don't remember anyone ever complaining about it at the time. So it just was something brand new from Nintendo, and later they changed and they evolved into other styles of controllers. But yeah, I can't imagine playing Nintendo 64 without this controller. Now here I have a bit of an oddity. Now this is my case that I keep my Nintendo 64. As you can see, it molds right in and it fits right in just perfectly, as do the controllers. You can put some accessories as well. It has a foam padding on top. It's basically a rental case, and I was able to buy it several years ago, and it's a great way to store my Nintendo 64, and it just fits perfectly. It's made for it, so it's a wonderful way to keep it. Unfortunately, I don't have the original box. That's gone by the wayside many years ago. Back then you didn't even think about keeping boxes. You had no room and things like that, so those just went into the garbage can pretty much. Now, as far as games, I already touched on Ocarina of Time. Here we have Conker's Bad Fur Day. This was another game that I played a lot at the time. I mean, this was just completely unique. I mean, I don't think there'll ever be another game like Conker's Bad Fur Day. It makes the system so unique to have this game. Just the off-the-wall humor. It's just fun, and it's a really fun as a multiplayer mode as well, which is a lot of fun. It's just a great game. It's top 2-3 games for Nintendo 64 in my opinion. Here you have Zelda Majora's Mask, basically using the same engine as Ocarina of Time, but a completely different game, a lot darker. I've never gotten very far into it, actually. I play around with it, but I would get stuck quite easily, so I never put the time into it. I do have a complete in box version of it, so it's quite nice. It's kind of beat up, but it's nice to have that. There's my Zelda Ocarina of Time. Unfortunately, I don't have the original case. I just have a replica box for it. Under that, Doom 64. Now this is a completely unique Doom. It was nothing like Doom on the PC, Doom 1 or Doom 2. Doom 64 is its own animal, and it's actually a really good game. I think this is also one of the top games, I would say, for Nintendo 64. It's a lot of fun. It's just more Doom action, and it's just a unique game for Nintendo 64. Resident Evil 2. Now this is the game that wasn't supposed to run on the Nintendo 64. I mean, it was on PlayStation, the original PlayStation, and it came out I think later in the life of the Nintendo 64. But they managed to pull it off, and it's a really good game, and it's solid. I have a complete in box right here, and yeah, it's fun and gory. Super Smash Brothers up there. That's the first Super Smash Brothers. I've played it quite a lot actually. It's fun. It's quirky. It doesn't have a giant roster like the more updated games do now, but it's where the series started. Below that, you have Perfect Dark. Now, Perfect Dark is a great game. It's like an updated version of 007 GoldenEye, I would say. And it has kind of like a futuristic theme, aliens and things like that. So definitely another top game for the Nintendo 64. After that, I have Mario Kart 64, which is a lot of fun. It's just goofy action, basically taking the original Mario 64, which was on the Super Nintendo, and then just better graphics and more fun gameplay in my opinion. Now here I have the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Now, albeit the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 and 3 I think are better games, but this is the original here, and it runs really well on the Nintendo 64. It's a lot of fun. I mean, that was the era of Tony Hawk, and it was just a lot of fun, and just basically just doing silly moves and things that are almost probably impossible in real life. Let's be honest. WWF No Mercy. Now this is a lot of fun too. You can just pick your characters, and you're just bashing each other. You're jumping outside the ring. So it's a really good wrestling game. It's the only wrestling game I have for the Nintendo 64. And I think it's probably the best one, in my opinion. Super Mario 64. Now this one is I mean, it's my favorite Mario. I just like the way that it took it to the next level as far as like the original Marios. I mean, the original one is the one that I played mostly, the original Super Mario Brothers. And then came out 2 and 3 and Super Mario World. They're all great games, but this one, it's just the creativity. There's a swimming mechanics in it. You can, find different things. You go and there's dinosaurs in the game. You're flying around. Going through, flying out through cannons. So it's just a gigantic game. It's really cool, and it's definitely, top 5, I would say, even for the Nintendo 64 as far as games are concerned. I'll go up here a bit. Here we have Monster Truck Madness 64. It's just a silly game. I mean, it's just big trucks and bouncing around, but it's a lot of fun. Blast Corps. That's fun too. It's a unique game for Nintendo 64. Just going around wreaking havoc. Diddy Kong Racing. It's another fun version of a kart game. It's also really good. Kind of similar to Mario Kart 64, just a different spin on it. I like them both probably about the same, I would say. And Mario Tennis. I would play this a lot. At the time I was playing tennis as well. And Mario Tennis is a great game. The mechanics are good. It's easy to play. It's a lot of fun. It's just a really fun Nintendo 64 game, and it's got the characters in there. I think it's got, as I remember, Waluigi in there, which is always my favorite. It's my favorite Nintendo character is Waluigi. Actually, we just don't have very many games with him, so I like it a lot. Pilot Wings 64, kind of a demo as well, like the original Pilot Wings, but also fun, just goofing around. Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Now that's a really good game as well for Nintendo 64, probably the best Star Wars game that they have. And here you have the original Quake. Now Quake was, at the time, it was Wolfenstein 3D, then it was Doom, and then Quake. and the Quake engine kind of took it to the next level. And this is a really nice port of it. It's a lot of fun. It's really gory. I think there's also Quake 2 and 3 as well on the Nintendo 64, but I just have the original. I think GoldenEye was revolutionary. I mean, that was just an amazing game. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the few instances where the game is better than the actual movie. I never even saw the movie. So, yeah, that's a lot of fun. You're just going around and basically being a covert agent. Command and Conquer. Now this I played a lot on the PC. I remember back in the mid 90s, even early 90s, on the PC, playing on dial-up modem with my friends. It was kind of the first online gaming I've ever played in my life, where we'd fight each other in Command and Conquer. And this is actually a really good version on Nintendo 64. It's a lot of fun. It's just a classic. It's a really good game. I don't hear too many people talk about it, but I used to play it a lot when I was younger. And here you have Turok 2, just fun as well. The dinosaur game, just hunting dinosaurs and things like that. You don't see that anymore. I don't know what happened to that genre, but it's fun. Ready to Rumble Boxing. That's fun, just the sprites. It's big, it's cartoony, so that makes it fun. Banjo-Kazooie, it's another really great game for Nintendo 64, just completely unique. It's just something that's out of the ordinary. It's just a really great experience. So that's one of the top, probably again, another top 5, top 7 games of the Nintendo 64, I would say. Next, Off-Road Challenge. Now this is similar to what was on the original Nintendo and Super Nintendo. This version's updated in 3D. And it's a lot of fun. You're just going around racing with a big bouncy truck. And 1080 snowboarding is fun as well. Now, I think the successors to this are probably better on the 6th generation. I know there's 1080 Avalanche on GameCube, and there's also on Xbox. There's also a really good Amped, a really good snowboarding game that I used to play a lot, as opposed to this one here. So anyways, that's my Nintendo 64 collection. I remember getting it, shortly after it launched, and I have a lot of history with Nintendo 64. I mean, at the time I was rooting for cartridges. I mean, I was always kind of a nostalgic kind of person. I didn't want to go to CDs or DVDs or whatever, those kind of optic media. So I had the Nintendo 64 as kind of the end of an era, the end of the truly retro gaming, which is on cartridges. And so in this 5th generation, I only have the 2 consoles. I have the Nintendo 64, which is cartridge based, and the Atari Jaguar, which is cartridge based as well. So that's basically how it went for me in the 5th generation. I wanted to stick to that, and I didn't adopt into PlayStation and Xbox until the following generation. And yeah, by that time it was time, but this was this was great. So I had a wonderful time with the Nintendo 64. And also at the time, I remember I worked at a video store, and we used to rent these all the time. So just renting them. So I got to play a lot of Nintendo 64 working there, and just taking home a rental for the evening and playing home. And here is Ocarina of Time on the CRT. That CRT is like I mentioned before, is almost the exact same one I had in the late 90s. So it's at home with the Nintendo 64 connected to it. Anyways, it's my simple setup and my top 25 games. Not a giant library, but meaningful and important to me. And I think these top 25 are really awesome games. So thank you very much. Like and subscribe, and yeah, I would like to maybe share some other collections, maybe do some gameplay videos in the future.